Just what Kris said. We're here because we're not quitting on our state. It'd be easy for us to give up and just play out the string and keep our heads down. But we don't want this state to die. And we are going to be the ones that save it. We're going to save it in the legislature. We've still got about 100 mayors and first selectmen out there doing great things. We are going to save it. But we won't get there unless everyone makes that extra sacrifice. And I'll just tell you one quick thing. I'm lucky enough now to be working for Senator Fasano in this Senate campaigns. You know you're doing well, not by what people are saying to you on your side. It's watching the other side. The other side's very worried. And they're pulling all sorts of fun stuff, high school stuff, but they're worried, which means we're getting somewhere. But do not delude yourselves. They are government. They are the government party. They lose their existence, their identity. So they're going to be real tough to beat. Just keep that in mind. It's not always the best argument or the best candidate. It's what you're prepared to do at the end. And I think, JR, when you speak and you've seen, you need to be within that band of 30 to 40-year-old people who are sticking it out and want to make a life here. Because they're going to be our votes on November and next year and the year after, and they'll be candidates for us as well. I know you'll do that. You're doing a fine job overall. And I'm glad to be here tonight to participate in this and look forward to a great election. Let's beat the Democrats and make them like it, okay?
So in a few minutes, we're going to start the program. It is a fraternity.
My name's Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
13 hours is how long we were in the fight.
State guys, we just heard them on the radio say, hey, if you guys are going to die. We just kind of looked at each other and said, we got to go now.
None of you have to go. We are the only help they have.
Americans overseas, especially in areas where there wasn't any military support.
We had to go, no matter what. Damn the consequences.
That's a win. Here we go. Let's roll.
Our director is Michael Bay. He's been very respectful to us, and he's taken us seriously, and he's got us involved.
Hey y'all, how you doing? All right. Thanks. Thank you. Now sit down. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Hey, look at that. I got it. Thank you. Now sit down, please. Sit down. All right, we'll put this. I'm gonna keep it right here by my beer, because I know I won't forget my beer. Definitely. I didn't know they had a bar in the back too. How cool is this place? Go get some drinks. Go. Drink some more. Get some shots. We should all do a shot of Jameson, because that's what Rangers drink. Everybody go get a shot of Jameson. I'm not starting until everybody has a shot in their hand. Kidding. Well, again, I appreciate it, and to believe that me would be in Connecticut twice in the same year speaking, especially in a, this is a very blue state, obviously. I didn't think they'd have it, especially this is the place where, and I'm not going to get political with the story, but if you ever saw the story where Fox picked it up where I said Hillary had no soul, that was at the Bridgeport event, and that was just me being honest. So, but again, that's what I'm saying. I'm really shocked that I came back to Connecticut. I'm happy I'm here. And obviously, in the last 2 weeks, with me speaking in Southern California 4 times, I'm in New York City speaking now in Connecticut again, I think people are realizing that even though I can be political, the story isn't. And it doesn't need to be. And I just tell you guys. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to get really into the politics of it. I don't get into my views as much as people want me to, because it takes away from the story. And the story is about honor, and it's about courage, and it's about sacrifice, about selfless service. It's about things that we don't really have in D.C. right now. And I think they could learn a lot from what took place in Benghazi. Yes, I lost 2 of my friends. I watched them die. I'm going to tell you about it. If you haven't heard the story, I'm going to tell you about it. I watched them get blown up in front of my face. I'll tell you what went through my head. I'll also be a little bit more graphic. I'll be a little bit more graphic than when I was in Bridgeport. For those of y'all that did go to the Bridgeport event. The reason being is because we didn't lose anybody in Libya. Well, those people that we did lose, I saw them not get lost, and they had to do things to their bodies to get them back to Tripoli. But I'll tell you that, so you guys can actually see that there's actually a face with Benghazi, and it's not an agenda. Yeah. But that within itself, let's lay out some ground rules. I don't have any. You need to get up, go get up. If you need to get a beer, go get a beer. You need to get a shot. It doesn't matter. Just like I said in Bridgeport, obviously they found out I get funnier the more you drink, so drink. Just keep drinking, okay? I need you to drink a lot. Also, you know, as I'm talking here, if there is something that you feel is it's uncomfortable, it's not right in today's society to laugh at it, because that's what combat. There's no political correctness in combat. There's zero. So a lot of the things that we did, we laughed, we joked, we had a good time. We said things that we probably would be deemed as inappropriate in normal society during that night, or you think, why did they tell a joke at that point in time? Or in the movie, you see the movie, all those jokes that went on in the movie, those were accurate. That's what we did. Those aren't made up. They weren't put in the movie just to make you laugh. That's what combat is. Combat is for guys like SEALs and Rangers and Marines and combat controllers and Special Forces and Delta and so forth. Combat is enjoyable for us. We have a good time. We enjoy ourselves. And I hope I can portray that a little bit to you. Well, I'm just going to get it started. Got about an hour. I may go over a little bit. I'm going to try to keep it within an hour. And then we'll take some questions. And then whatever books we have left, we'll get them signed. And we'll have a good time. And then shake hands. And I hope I see you guys again here real soon. But I'll get started. Team. The team was a global response staff. The team consisted of myself. We consisted of Ty Woods, Roan, who passed away that night, Navy SEAL, SEAL Team 6. Jack Silva, West Coast SEAL. We also had 3 Marines. Mark Osgeist, he was on that featurette. He's the Marine with the big head, huge head, big-headed Marine. We had John Tigan, who was the gentleman with the glasses. John, if you ever watch John and us, when we're over on TV together, we're over on a news program or something together, John is always the one that is the most outspoken. He just sits there and goes like this. Yeah, you guys know. If you've watched him, you know he doesn't say much. And then we also had DB Benton, Boone. And Boone's my best friend. Boone and I started contracting together in 2003. We were at a company called Blackwater Security, if you ever heard of it. It was real small at the time. It's a monstrosity now. We had 1 building on that compound. We were class 1. And we went through Iraq and Afghanistan together. We fought in Yemen together. And he was my best friend. And it was a blessing to have him there that night, to have somebody that close that I could trust, and that it saved me in Iraq and Afghanistan more than once as well, to have him right by my side. Well, as we move on to that night, things are going on. You know, the team itself throughout the months up to ahead, we'd been there for off and on as a team, probably about 30 days as a team together. Now, individually, we'd been there anywhere from 3 months to a month. You know, Oz had been there the least amount of time, a month. The rest of the team had been there, like myself. I'd been there for about 3 months in Benghazi. Tyrone had been there for about 3 months. DB had been there for about 3 months. Jack had just got in. But what was amazing, and I do talk about my faith a bit. What was amazing is there was no doubt that team was supposed to be there. No doubt in my mind. The reason being is because myself, Ty, and DB were supposed to go home 2 weeks earlier, and we decided to stay. We said, we're going to stay. We knew that team needed to stay together. It was one of those teams that you could look at another guy, he'd look at you, didn't need to say a word, and you'd make it happen. You just move. And that says a lot just for the military service in general, because we weren't all from the same branches. You know, we had SEALs, Rangers, and Marines. Luckily, the Marines and the SEALs had the Ranger there to make sure things worked out all right. We're going to get you right here, Marine. Yeah, that's right. Just be ready. No, what I'm saying is it says a lot for the special operations community and the Marines that you guys, you have the same, maybe not the same type of training, but you work hard and you never quit and you never give up. And you already got your brother's back no matter what. It says a lot for the military, and people should realize that the military not take it for granted. Well, those times leading up to the attack of 9/11, 2012, the team itself, we'd been through a lot. There's assassinations going on. Things blow up every once in a while. There's a snap checkpoint. It's kind of like where you see 13 Hours, you watch the movie. A snap checkpoint is when you're driving through a normal area that you're never going to see a gun, and all of a sudden you roll up and there's this big dishka, a big 50 cal the back of a truck, a technical pointing at you. It just happens. It's normal daily life, and it's actually quite fun. It's exciting. I mean, you live up here all the time. Sometimes that's why we have a hard time readjusting when we come back to normal society, because we're always up here, or we're asleep. We're down here. We're never in this area right here. But we enjoy that, and as a team, we knew that that was the lives that we wanted to be. All of us had been there been contracting or in the military or been deploying for up to 10 years at that point. I've been doing 10 years of deploying up to 9/11/2012. And I loved being overseas. I loved seeing things blow up. I did. I didn't like the carnage after, the destruction, the misogynistic attitude of the Sharia faith. I didn't enjoy that at all. But you do enjoy just always having your adrenaline levels up here. I'll be honest, the first time I saw a car bomb in Baghdad, I just watched it. It's like, wow, that's awesome. And then something in the back of the head hit me and said, oh, you better start moving, and you start moving. But that's how you live, and that's how that night was as well, but I'll get into more of that. Well, like I said, throughout those months there, the team, and even up to the 1 month that we were there together, things were going on. Things are going on in these third world countries that you just get used to, you become acclimated to. So as 9/11 comes in, 9/11 is just like any other day, I'll be honest with you. We're always up here. And I'm not saying we took it lightly because it's 9/11, or we took it any more heavily because it's 9/11. We're always up here. And I remember that day in itself, myself and Boone were on QRF, Quick Reaction Force, and we were basically monitoring the team's movements, all of our team's movements out in the city throughout the day. Now, why that's important? Well, as our teams move in the city and they go around and they do their little operations, they're usually in smaller elements. You could even be by yourself, which makes the job even more exciting because sometimes you're out there by yourself or you're in a two-man team. So we're on standby because things that we take for granted here in the States can get you killed overseas. Flat tire, that'll get you killed. You get stopped with a flat tire on the side of a road, believe me, the terrorists and everybody in that community has a cell phone and they're boop, 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 boop. Hey, Americans on the side of the road, flat tire, and they drive by and they shoot you. Or they just come and they blow up next to you. So you have that QRF element there, myself and Boone, so we can get out and help. Or a car wreck. Or if they do get stopped in a mass gathering or protest. I've been stopped in a protest before where we couldn't move down on a street called Haifa Street in Baghdad. That was scary. That was very scary. Because you are outnumbered and they will rip your arms out of your sockets. Now, they don't bring RPGs and AK-47s to mass protests. I'll be honest with you there. I've never seen one. Well, so as me and Boone are on that day too, why that's important as well is because we're monitoring all the radio traffic. So as teams are going out in the city in Benghazi, they can radio us back and say, hey, there is a mass protest going on. Oh, we saw an attack in this part of town. Oh, there's a car bomb that went off in the north part of town. So we have this map, and we also have a computer system that we can mark these things on the board. So as teams come in to do their operations throughout the day, they can look at this map and say, hey, there's a protest going on by the consulate. We probably need to stay out of that area. Oh, somebody got assassinated in the north part of town. There's some bad things going on. We better watch ourselves if we're going up in that area. And I'm telling you right now, there was nothing, zero, nothing going on. That map was clear. No protests, no mass gatherings, no attacks, no IEDs, nothing. We're also watching Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera gets information quicker than the CIA and NSA sometimes. They're very good. And as we're watching Al Jazeera, we see something going on in Egypt. There's protests going on in the consulate there in Egypt, or the embassy is what it was. Looked like they were storming it a bit or trying to. We know they got Marines there. The Marines can take care of that place. There's no mention of a video causing that protest. We're watching it. I'm just telling you what I was seeing that day. Well, as the day goes on, 9 p.m. 2012, at 9 p.m., 9/11/2012, I hear Ty come across the radio, and Ty says, Dave, we're going to stop by and check on you. Now, what that is, Ty is talking to Dave Ubben. Dave Ubben's a State Department officer. In the movie, he's portrayed by the African-American fellow. That's who Dave Ubben is in the movie, and that's actually very good. His personality was probably about spot on with the movie. But he says, Dave, we're going to stop by and check on you. Why he's doing that? Well, if you go back to the movie as well, like I said, the movie's very accurate. The movie's very, we consulted on the entire thing.
we did this movement where we were coming back and we stopped at the consulate because we were going to do a check. We went and did a site assessment, a risk assessment, because we knew the ambassador was coming in. That's why we stayed. That's why me, Boone, and Anna and Tyrone extended. Well, if you watch the movie, and if you ever watch it again, you'll see us, we're going around doing our assessment, our risk assessment of this vulnerabilities of this compound. And I remember there's a scene in the movie where Pablo Schreiber, who plays me in the movie, and he's by far the best actor, outshone John Krasinski. Come on, you got him, man. He is the best looking. Out of all the actors, he's by far. He's not the best looking in person. I'm a lot better looking than him, obviously. But he's on a diving board. And I remember seeing myself. I remember looking at Scott Wickland, who was with the ambassador that night, who lost control of him. I don't blame him at all. I mean, I can't imagine what was going through his head. Alec Henderson's over there standing. Dave Ubben's there standing. And I remember looking at Scott going, man, you guys got anything bigger than M4s? You got anything? Any machine guns? He goes, no. We've been putting requests in, but they keep turning us down. They being State Department head shit. And I'm just going to, this is fact. This is who they're requesting it from. Hillary Clinton, Patrick Kennedy, Charlene Lamb. That's fact. That's not a political statement. They keep turning us down. They won't give us this too high profile. They don't want to offend the local government. Okay, roger that, Scott. I said, look at this place. It's a 9-acre compound. You got a terrorist organization living on the compound with you, 17th February Mars Brigade. That was a compound that State Department contracted to live on the compound with them to act as their QRF force. They swore their allegiance to Ansar Sharia the day after we left. That was the group that actually attacked the compound. I said, you got a terrorist organization live on this compound with you. Your walls are soft. You got a building that's dilapidated, that's overlooking your compound. It's a sniper's paradise. I said, if you get attacked by any big element, I said, you're going to effing die. It's verbatim from the movie. I said exactly those things. And I remember his eyes came to about right here. And I took a step back and went, Ranger, and this is what I'm thinking, Ranger, frontal lobe filter, you got to engage that. You're not talking to another Ranger or SEAL. You're scaring the life out of him. And I remember looking at Scott and I said, hey, man, if you ever need us, we'll come get you. And that's when the team swore that we would help. Now, I know that may not be a big deal in today's society, giving your word, but we did. And as SEALs, Marines, and Rangers, that means everything. You give a guy your word, you're going to live by it or die by it. Well, as 9/11 coming on and Tyrone's coming back, it's 9 p.m. That's why Ty is saying, Dave, we're going to check on it. Because we would periodically stop by and check on the guys, basically to give them a warm fuzzy to say, we're here. We got you guys. And as Ty says, Dave, we're going to stop by and check on you. Dave comes back. I'm listening to the radio. Dave says, Ty going home. Ambassador's fine. He's in his bed. There's no problems. Ty says, roger that. They drive in front of the consulate. And they head back on Gunfighter Road. And as they're heading back, Ty says, break, Tanto, we're bringing it home. I said, roger that, bring it home. Come on home. Let's get this day over with. I've already extended. I've already been here 3 weeks longer. I just want to get out of here. So he drives in at 9:15, and I remember looking at Ty and going up to him and say, what's going on in the city, Ty? He says, nothing. It's quiet. Nothing's happening. Roger. He goes to bed. Me and Boone are staying up because we have to wait for Oz to come back off his date. Oz was out on a date that night. Now, I'm just giving you kind of a personality issue, or I should say just how some of the funny things that we used to do on the base, or some of the things that we used to banter to get through. And this is kind of important as well, because I remember Oz was going out on his date, and that's what we do as GRS guys every once in a while, without getting to the operational aspects of what we do with the CIA security element. We act sometimes as husbands or bosses or boyfriends to female case officers that are overseas. I said, you think there's a gender gap here in the States? I'm telling you what, go to the Middle East. You'll see what the gender gap is there. All right, well, anyway, so before Oz goes out that night, I remember him looking at me and says, hey, what's going on in this city? He's going out at 7 o'clock. I said, brother, there's nothing going on. Everything's fine. And he gives me the bird. He flips me off. And I thought that was actually kind of funny. Like, why are you flipping me off, brother? So I'm thinking, I thought back. Well, if you watch the movie, Michael Bay loves eye candy in his movies. Loves them. You always see women everywhere in the movies, right? So you see 15, 20 women on our base, right? Did you watch them? It was one. I remember, Michael, we got one woman on our base, right? Well, there's a reason Oz flipped me off before he headed out. And this is just something, just the benefits. It shows how we were on the base, how the teammates got together. The reason we flipped me off was because we had drawn straws to see who would not go out on this date with this one female case officer. And why I think that's funny, and maybe it's just me that thinks that's funny. Well, remember, I haven't seen a woman in 3 months except for this one, and I'm fighting to not go out on a date with this one female case officer. Same with the rest of us. Yeah, she was spicy, really spicy woman. I tell you what, real smart, but not. Nah, anyway, that's a whole nother speech. Well, anyway, Oz is out on his date, so me and Boone have to stay up a little bit longer. So we're waiting, and 9:32 is when the fun starts. 9:32 is when we get a call. Me and Boone. I remember hearing on our radios, our ICOM radios, and it's from our GRS team leader. And he says, "We need all GRS in the team room." It was very nonchalant. There wasn't a sense of urgency in his voice. And I remember looking at Boone. Boone looks at me and says, "Tanto, what'd you do?" Now, again, this is why there's a scene. If you watch the movie again, there's a scene where me and Boone are watching Tropic Thunder. There's a reason Tropic Thunder is in there. And again, I'm not politically correct, guys. I'm not going to try to be. So if you're worried about me saying something, or you're thinking I might say something that is not politically correct, chances are you're going to hear it tonight. If that bothers you, then you got exits and help yourself out. But there's a reason Tropic Thunder is in the movie. All right, the reason being is Boone knows that I like to make fun of CIA case officers. I loved it. As I got older, the CIA case officers got younger. And I'm not talking because it's of age. I'm just saying the CIA case officers got younger and younger and younger. And they're brilliant. They're smart. Smart as a whip. Book smart, but they're not very street smart. Put it that way. So, Tropic Thunder, let me get back to that. I had this 8x10 sheet of paper that I'd laminated, and it was Sergeant Cyrus O'Malley, Robert Downey Jr. And he's looking straight ahead, and underneath it, it says, "Never go full retard," because that's what he says in the movie. So whenever a CIA case officer did something dumb, I'd put it on their desk. Now people are like, "Oh, that ain't funny." Well, honestly, when you're in that situation, it is pretty funny, especially when you got some CIA personnel looking at a contractor like myself going, "Why is he making fun of me?" And these kids are brilliant. They are brilliant, but they're kids. Well, that's why Boone looks at me and says, "Tanto, what'd you do?" Because he knows that the Ranger thrives off misery and is only happy when he's making other people miserable, especially SEALs and Marines. Well, I go, "Boone, I ain't done anything. I've been sitting here watching Al Jazeera with you all day, and we got Battleship on the other TV. Best movie besides 13 Hours. Go watch Battleship." It's I can't believe I got a clap for that. I never get a clap for Battleship. That's one of the worst movies ever made. Ever. But we're watching Battleship, Al Jazeera, and I said, "Dude, I haven't done anything." 30 seconds later, though, we do get a more urgent call. And it's from our GRS team leader again. He says, "We know all GRS in the team room now." And I remember I looked at Boone. Boone looked at me. "We've been doing this for 10 years. We know the voice. We know the sounds. We know the inflection of the voices." And he smiles at me. And I go, "We can do something fun tonight." And we get our gear on and we head out the door. And immediately we head out our door. 3/4 of a mile away is the consulate. You can already see the tracers. The orange, the green, depending on the size of the weapon it was, the size of the round. And you're seeing those tracers go. And you're hearing the explosions. You're hearing the RPGs explode. You're hearing the grenades explode. You're hearing the gelatina bombs explode. You're hearing that ch-ch-ch. That's a heavier, lower crescendo or shorter crescendo, or longer crescendo, I should say, of a weapon system. That's a 50 cal. And you're just watching it. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's one of those things that people are like, "Wow." When people come and say, "Man, I'm so sorry you're in a miserable night that night." Heck no, that was one of the best nights of my life. Firefights are incredible. If you accept the fact that you're in a firefight, if you don't worry and you don't say, "Gosh, God, why do you have me here? I'm going to die." If you think like that, yes, you will die. If you think like, "God, thank you for putting me in this situation. I know I can handle it. This is where I'm supposed to be at tonight." You can enjoy anything that you go through. You can. And again, and I say God. I don't condemn anybody that doesn't believe in God. Whatever you believe in, I believe in God. As a Christian, I'm not going to condemn anybody who doesn't believe in Him, because that's not as Christians we do. We have somebody up above us that does that if he wants to. Whatever you believe in. Okay? But I remember looking at that firefight, and I remember watching the team, and good leaders know when to shut the hell up and do their job. And we had a team of good leaders because we were good followers too. And that team started to move, and it was like an opera. It was like a symphony. Ty's going to go get his vehicle and his weapon systems. Tig's going to go get his 40mm grenade launcher. Jack is getting his weapon systems. Boone is getting to my car because I'm driving my SUV, but he's got to get the keys. That's his responsibility, and get it set up so I can go get all my equipment. And it's awesome. And within 5 minutes, we're ready to go. And I remember walking. As I'm walking, Ty's in his SUV, Ty's in his sedan with Jack and Tig, and I'm driving the SUV behind him, so I'm walking in between cars, and I go like this to Ty, and he goes like this to me, which means we're up. Don't need to say a word. And I remember going to my chief of base who's here and my team leader who's here, and I said, hey, we're ready to go. And my chief of base looks at me, and he looks at the team leader, and he says, you tell these guys they need to wait. Now I'm standing right here, so I'm thinking, well, chief, I'm right here. Team leader looks at me and says, you guys need to, and I stop him. I said, I got it, dude, I got it. And I walk back. Ty says, what's going on? I said, Bob's telling us we gotta wait. And we wait. Now, just because I told you 5 minutes ago, when SEALs and Rangers and Marines give their word, it means something. We swore that we would help them. And then you hear a crackle on the radio. And this is an obstacle. It's an obstacle that you have to overcome because you have to maintain your bearing, you have to maintain your composure, but you want to get over there and get in a fight. And we hear Alec Henderson, who's trapped in the talk at the State Department compound. He's got cameras all over. He's got video monitors over the camera system. He's watching his team get overrun, and basically that consulate just taking massive fire. And his buddies are spread out everywhere. He's watching it all. And he says, GRS, consulate's been overrun. GRS, we're taking heavy fire. Now we know he's taking heavy fire because we can see it. I just want you guys to imagine your best friend or a teammate or a coworker or a family member, the voice, you just hear the inflection of panic in the voice. And it's hard just to sit on your hands when you know you can make a difference. But we do, because that's what we do. We follow what our leaders ask us to do. That's what the military is. It's a training scar that we have. It's a good training scar, but we do trust our leaders, at least up to that point. 5 minutes turns to 10 minutes, and we're still waiting, and we're still hearing Scott come across the radio. And Alec come across the radio as well. And at the 15-minute mark, I remember here Alec, and this still bothers me. He says, GRS, you swore you'd get here. Where are you? And that's when I saw Tig get out of his car. He gets on the sedan side, the passenger side. Bob's on the driver's side. I can't hear what they're saying, but all I can hear is they're going back and forth to each other, basically yelling at each other. And Tig gets back in his car. He says to Boone, he goes, Bob's telling us we got to stand down. Now, I know that's a huge hotbed here, especially in this blue state, that stand down never happened. I know MSNBC was up on our roof filming. Geraldo Rivera was in the back of my car. CNN was on the gate. They were filming it all. New York Times had a reporter going, Tanto, what did you do next? They weren't there. You can believe them if you want. I don't care. I'm going to take a word over Marine than any reporter any day of the week. But if you still want to believe reporters, you go ahead. And when he says we got to stand down, that's when Boone says he's doing it again. Y'all didn't know this. The consulate had been attacked twice before 9/11/2012. All right? Large holes have been blown on the exterior walls of that compound twice before 9/11/2012. The GRS team, and me included, because I was part of that GRS team, we tried to respond to those attacks. We were told to not go. We couldn't help. Luckily, there were no follow-on with that IED. Large hole blew up. Nobody followed on to get through that hole. Why? If there's anybody in this room that's going to go into any sort of military service, intel service, anything like that, where you're going to deal with classified information over servers or emails or anything, all I'm just going to tell you right now is if it's classified, it does not go on anything but a secure server, period. Once it's out there, and they grab it. Oh, you're the man. Thank you. Thank you. Cheers, brother. All they had to do, and this is part of our fault too. All they had to do was to make sure the ambassador was going to be there, to make sure he was, because they knew. We fly commercial air back and forth from Tripoli to Benghazi. We fly Al Libyan Airlines. We get a ticket. All they had to do was just look to see if he was on the manifest when he came in, and you go through customs. Even though customs in Libya is a guy sitting at a desk with a notepad, that's customs, but they're still checking. They know you're on that flight. They're like, oh, great, look at this, high-value target. We got Ambassador Stevens, and Ambassador Stevens did not donate to a foundation that was given his ambassadorship. That man worked his way up, and he worked his butt off, and he was a 3-star general. Well, that's what his ranking would have been equivalent to. That man was up there. So we got a high-value target on this compound. We attacked it twice. There's no response. We know he's going to be there. Come on, we do the same thing. Let's go get him. Roger that. Terrorists are not dumb. Terrorists are very smart. They use everything at their disposal to their advantage, whether it's empathy on our part or whether it's our lack of responses as well. And that's what they did. I admire them because we should be able to wipe them out, but we don't because they're very cunning. And they're awesome at social media and the internet. They're better than us. Well, they knew the ambassador was coming, and that's why Boone says, he's doing it again because we couldn't go over. And I said, man, we're going to have to buck orders. And I remembered back to Baghdad. I remember when I was in Iraq in 2005. Cheers. And I remember 2005, I remember we were going to visit an imam that Delta mistakenly grabbed the night before. I was taking Ambassador James Jeffrey over there to apologize. I was in charge of that detail. I had worked for the State Department. I was in charge of Ambassador James Jeffrey detail for the State Department. And to protect Ambassador James Jeffrey, who rated the same as Ambassador Kris Stevens, I had 60 Blackwater pipe hitters. I had a company of infantry grunts from the Minnesota National Guard. I had 2 Little Bird helicopters, and I had 1 APC, armored personnel carrier. That's what I had to protect him in Baghdad. Ambassador Stevens had 6 diplomatic security officers with 12 years of military experience between them. Well, anyway, I remember back to when I followed orders. I did the right thing. We're watching, and all day, I've been in Iraq for a year at that point, and my brain is mush. I've seen things, people, I'm glad I experienced them, but there's some things you don't want to see that are permanently burned in your head. But I remember my brain's mush, and I'm watching 2 little girls play, and finally I feel normal. Kids make you feel normal when you're overseas. Kids are innocent, no matter what country they're in. And I'm watching these 2 little girls play. Like, man, I finally feel normal. I get to go home next week. Oh, this is a great day, great day. So as we're leaving, I'm riding one of the Humvees. I stop at one of the intersections there in the Mansour district. I get out with my Army grunts, and we block the intersection so Ambassador James Jeffrey's motorcade, can just shoot through and get home. This guy's a high-value target. People would love to take this guy out. Well, as they shoot through, and the guys are starting to move, and this little follow team's trying to come move through, there's a big explosion. Boom, knocks me down. 100 meters away, a car bomb goes off in the general direction where these little girls are playing. So I'm thinking, guys, get on your horses, get the ambassador out of here, we'll trail you, make sure you don't get ambushed on the way. And we shoot back to the green zone. And I see my 2 Little Bird helicopters up there shadowing there the whole way. And as we get to the green zone, I see one of them pull off and go right back to the attack. That's not his job. He's disobeying orders. Like, where are you going? Dan Laguna, great guy. Army Ranger, and then he was with the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment before he became a Blackwater pilot. He's shooting back there and disobeying orders. Well, I get the ambassador in, we're all good. I'm thinking, high five, we got everything, everybody's good to go. Nobody got hurt, nobody got attacked. Big explosion nearby, great. Well, Dan comes back, and I remember talking, I said, dude, what happened? I go, why'd you do that? He goes, well, there was an attack. When I got back there, it was an Army convoy that got hit. And there was a guy in the turret that had got blown up. I put him in my helicopter, and we got him back to the cache. We saved him. And I'm thinking, wow, I did the wrong thing. And then he tells me, and there was a little girl there too that was blown up, and her father brought her out. I couldn't save her. She was bleeding out. We didn't have room in my helo. I couldn't put her in there. And I remember thinking back, if I'd have cut half that team off, I would have got back there and saved this little girl. We got her in my Humvee. We could have shot her at the cache. She would have lived. I live with that forever. There's not a day that goes by I don't think about that. I did the wrong thing by following orders. I did. He did the right thing. I watched what he did, and that was leadership. So that's why I looked at Boone and said, we're going to have to buck orders, because I was not going to let that happen again. At the 25-minute mark of 9/11/2012, we hear Alec Henderson, and it's verbatim from the movie. It even sounds like his voice. It just gives chills when I hear it, because I remember hearing him on the radio. Alex says, jeer us if you don't get here, we're all going to effing die. And that's when I see Ty Woods put his hand out his door. He cracks his door, and he goes like this to me. And Ty was a big SEAL. Ty was huge. He actually had the Leonidas beard going. He did. That's what he looked like. He did. I'm not playing. I used to make fun of him like, you SEALs always got to be Hollywood, don't you? Always. But I see this ham hock come out of the car door, and I remember thinking, yes, I get to go war with Leonidas. Let's do this. And I put my hand out. And I give him a thumbs up, and then I remember that we're missing somebody. And I start calling Henry, our interpreter, on the radio. Henry is called Amal in the movie. We changed his name. Because we actually had 2 interpreters, one at the airport, one at our base. One was called Amal. Henry was the guy at our base. But I remember going, Henry, we need you. And I couldn't raise him on the radio. So I get out of my car, and I'm pissed. I'm like, where are you, Henry? God, now I got to run around this annex to try to find you. tell you, God was with us that night. I get out of my car and I see Henry walking right in front of me. I go, wow, that's a coincidence. That's convenient. I say, Henry. Now, Henry is not a combat Terp. Henry has no business going with us. Henry is 5'7", balding. Henry looks like Bob Newhart from Egypt. That's what Henry looks like. Henry is the most adorable little Terper I ever had. I did have to break up with him when we left Benghazi. I love that little guy. He showed me courage, though. He showed me what courage was. I mean, I initially went up to him. I said, Henry, and he knows I'm going to ask him because he's crapping him. He's soiling himself. I can tell he's like, Tanto, please don't ask me. Please don't ask me to go. Please don't ask me. I said, Henry, we need you. I said, I don't speak Arabic well enough. We're going to be linking up with the foreign force. I've done this in Coast. I've done this in Kandahar. We need you, dude. I don't want a blue-on-green incident, which is a friendly fire incident with a foreign force. And he looks at me and goes, Tanto, I'm not weapons qualified. The movie wasn't a dramatization. I handed him my pistol. I said, you are now. I said, go get your stuff. And this little Bob Newhart grabbed my gun, and he ran back into Building C. Now, initially, I'll be honest, I thought I lost my weapon. Like, God damn it. But then I see him come back out, and he's got his helmet on, and it's not on right. It's all jingling everywhere. He's got his armor. The armor he was wearing looked better in the movie than in real life. It was too long. It looked like, basically, when I saw Henry coming out of that building, I started to chuckle and laugh because he looked like a little turtle with a miniskirt running out. And I just, like... But in deep down, I'm like, that's courage. This guy has no business coming with us, and he's turning and he's going to go get his stuff, and he's coming back with us, and I gotta go now. Never quit. He's showing me what never quit is. And we get in the vehicles and we drive down, and we drive, and we have to stop 400 meters along the way because there's a foreign force there. We don't know who's friendly and who's not friendly, and they're running around with their heads cut off. And there's one guy with a PKM, a machine gun, and he's going around the corner, going brrr, and he's shooting as fast as he can. And he comes back. So we're saying, well, they're probably taking fire. So we get out of our cars, and as we get out of our cars and we get near the wall, a gunfighter, we're supposed to make a right, go 400 meters down to the main gate. We start hearing snaps, and then you start hearing a 2x4 hit behind you. Then you start hearing more snaps, and you start hearing a 2x4 hit behind you every once in a while. Well, what the snap is when a high-velocity round goes by your head, it breaks a sound barrier, so it snaps. The 2x4 sound is when a bigger round, hits behind you in a wall or anything. It sounds like it's a 2x4. It's bam. And it's freaking awesome. Man, I miss that. We know we're taking fire. Again, good leaders know how to be good followers. Nobody says a word. Everybody does their job. Ty and Jack are already moving with their M4s to put fire downrange to that front gate where we need to go. That's where we're taking heavy fire from. Tig has his 40 millimeter grenade launcher. He cracks the breech. I see him put a round in. I see him go around the corner, and he goes, boom. You count to about 2, and all of a sudden, kaboom, a big concussion. And that is a beautiful sound hearing that grenade hit those bad guys. Boone says, Tanto, we got to get high. So we started jumping walls. Book does a fantastic job showing that. We split, and we fought our rest of the way on foot. The movie does a good job too, but it shows only about that it took us 5 minutes to get there. It took us 30 minutes to fight our way that 400 meters. So by the time we actually got on the consulate, it had been over an hour since we got called. And we aren't the first responders. I don't know how long that consulate had been under attack for, but I know it had been attacked for at least an hour because that's when we got the call. When we finally got over that back gate, me and Boone, and I saw basically the carnage. You see the fire. You see 2 of the big buildings, the Ambassador's Villa and the QRF building, with vehicles that are on fire, and it's just blazing smoke, and there's black smoke. Even at night, you can see that diesel fume black smoke. And it's gorgeous. It's, again, if you let yourself realize that you're in that situation, that's an obstacle. Overcome that obstacle. You never give up. You can enjoy it. It's beautiful. Michael Bay is the only one that could have done our movie. Only one. Because he does that. He visually shows the colors, and that's what combat is. There is no fog of war in combat. I know we have some politicians in this room. Don't ever, ever say fog of war in combat. There is no such thing. When you're in combat, things are vivid and bright, and your senses are just attuned, and it's awesome. When we get on that compound and we spread out and we start looking for survivors and looking for anybody that's still alive, we're still got a 9-acre compound with 6 guys on this. It's got vineyards, it's got trees, it's got little hiding places. So we're just split up, and we're just trying to make sure that we're okay, and we can find the ambassador and whoever else is alive. And for the next hour we do that. And 11:30, close to, we've been there for about an hour now, actually on the base, an hour and a half. That's when Boone comes up to me and says, we lost one. You never want to hear that you lost one. And that's another obstacle. That's something you have to deal with. But you never quit. You never give up. And I remember I looked at Boone, I said, who did we lose? He goes, the IT guy. I'm thinking, IT guy. We didn't lose anybody in Libya, except for the IT guy, right? And I think, oh, damn, that's Sean. Yeah, Sean Smith. And I wasn't mad, I wasn't upset, didn't have any remorse. It was just, damn it, Rod the Luck, he just got here 2 days ago. That's what went through my head. You don't have time to worry about it and feel sorry for yourself. And I run to the front of the building and I see Jack and Dave Ubin pulling Sean's body out of a window. And I see Scott Wickland, who was with the ambassador, who lost control of the ambassador. And again, I don't blame Scott. Put yourself in his shoes. He's trapped in a building. He knows nobody's coming for him. He's watching people try to get into that safe room with guns and grenades. And then he watches them douse the safe room with diesel fuel and light it on fire. Imagine putting yourself in that situation. I don't blame Scott. He's thinking self-preservation. Well, he's sitting on the front steps and he's going into shock. And Jack does something amazing. Jack starts to do CPR, or tries to do, basically what you do now is you just do chest compressions on Sean Smith's body, even though Sean's dead. And he keeps looking up at Scott, saying, stay with me, brother. We're still in this fight. We still got a long night ahead of us. Why he's doing that, Jack knows he's dead. Sean's dead. When you see a dead body, it's not the movies. Obviously, he's dead. And the reason he's doing that is because he's trying to get Scott's head back into the fight. Never quit. You never give up. I'm thinking, man, that's awesome. And it works. Ty comes back to Scott's show and says, Scott, stay with me, brother. Don't do this. We need you. We need you in this fight. Scott comes back, and they both look at Scott, and they say, dude, he's gone. Well, our team leader drove our vehicle up, our SUV up, after we cleared the compound, and he drove it up and parked it. I remember Ty and Jack and Tig picked up Sean's body and put him in the back of our SUV. I'm pulling security over the right side of the villa, and there's a big explosion. Now, there's Libyans everywhere on the compound now. Now, y'all don't get tornadoes too much out here, but firefights in the Middle East are like when tornado sirens go off in the Midwest. When a tornado siren goes off in the Midwest, you're supposed to go in the basement, right? We don't do that. I'm from Nebraska. We go look for the tornado. Look at the wall cloud over there. Look. That's what a firefight is like in Libya. People didn't go hide. They come into the compound and see what was going on. There's people everywhere now. And this huge explosion goes off, and I look, and there's this Libyan who's missing his hand, and he runs by me, and his hand's gone. I look at another Libyan, and out of instinct, I go, what happened? I don't know if he's speaking English. I just said, what happened? He goes, grenade. So I'm thinking, well, this guy tried to cook a grenade off. He pulled the pin, held it for 3 seconds instead of 2 before he threw it at us, and he blew his hand off. I don't feel sorry for him. My football coach's voice comes in my head, and I just think, rip some dirt on it, kid. Take a knee face out. You'll be fine, man. Get out of here. Second explosion hits, so and this one knocks me down, and then the water faucet of snaps turn on. And I remember I took cover behind the only thing that I had near me, and that was an SUV, a vehicle. And I get behind the engine block, and I get behind the wheel well. For all y'all going down range, if you ever get in a firefight, always take cover if you're going to use a car behind the wheel well and the engine block, because rounds skip and they come underneath. And they also can skip off the hood, but you'd rather have them, honestly. Skipping under the cars were a lot worse. But I'm shooting as fast as I can because we're getting attacked, and somebody honks a horn at me, and I'm thinking, who the hell is honking a horn at me in the middle of a firefight? And I look, I'm taking cover of the State Department guy's vehicle. Scott's eyes are this big. He just wants to get the heck out of there. He doesn't care if Tanto has cover or not. And I look at him, I see his eyes, I look at the rest of the guys in that vehicle, they want to leave, and I just take a step back and I say, come on. And they drive, and I take a knee, and I had about this much cover. I know the movie shows I had walls covering me. I didn't have any of that. I was like, Michael, I was talking to Michael Bass, and Mike, I wish I had all that cover you showed in the movie. I did. There's a reason why they do that, though, so I'll explain that to you. But anyway, I take a knee, and I'm shooting, and I look over, and I see the car go right, and I see it go right again, and I hear Ty and Jack come across the radio going, you guys are going the wrong way. Ty and Jack had told Scott when he left to go left instead of right. The reason being is not only was that consulate 9 acres, not only did it have a 3-star general on it, not only did it have the disadvantage of not being able to be defended, Not only did they have a terrorist organization living on it, it was built 2 blocks from the Ansar Sharia safe house. The people that attacked the consulate lived right next to the consulate. That's why we told them to go left and not right. If you want to see what happened to him, watch the movie. I still remember that car completely on fire. Those run flats were melted when we left the next morning. I don't know how they lived. I really don't. That armor held, but they got hammered. We couldn't do anything for them. We're under attack ourselves, and I remember I just start shooting. I have this much cover. The reason you see cover and stuff in the movies, or you see walls around, is because you cannot simulate that snap in a movie. You can't do it. So you have to show the broader rounds because you got to show a wall because you got to show the debris coming off the wall from the rounds hitting. That's why you got to put walls in movies. And honestly, that is, you can't make, Michael can do dang near anything with the computer system and what do they call it, the effects. He can't simulate that snap. So I'm out in the open snapping and I'm covered. I'm good. God's got me. I feel warm. I feel a cocoon around me. It's like God had his hand around me saying, you're not going to get hit today. I don't feel like that every time. I'm not going to tell you I do. But I did that night. And I'm shooting. And there's rounds snapping by me. And it's awesome. It's freaking awesome. You can't re-simulate. You guys all got to do that once. Just get in a firefight. One time. Right? Go to a red state where you can go get shot at a range. Come to Nebraska. All right? Because that'll sober you up right quick. And as I'm shooting, my right eardrum blows out. And it hurts. And I look. And as I'm shooting like this, there's a Libyan. He took a knee right next to me. It looks like he just got off work. Nice shoot. Looked like he took his blazer off and threw it down and he took a knee right next to me. He's shooting. And he kind of smiles at me. And I look at him like, ain't this the damnedest thing? God just put a little baby angel right next to me. My team leader says, Tanto, take cover. And I'm thinking to myself, get your ass out here and help me. And when I think that, Boone, my best friend, screams around the corner, takes a knee next to me. He knows I'm running out of ammo. He knows it's hard for me to get ammo because all my ammo was in my short pockets. That wasn't a dramatization. I was wearing shorts that night. If you're going to get in a firefight in the Middle East, and I've been doing it for 10 years now, it's hot over there. Stay comfortable. Why are you going to be uncomfortable if you're going to get in a firefight? Wear shorts. I still have those shorts. I'll tell you why you probably don't want to buy them on eBay later, though. I'll tell you why. Well, Boone takes a knee. He slides the magazine over to me because he knows I'm going to run out of ammo. Never give up. You never quit. Stay with your brother. I got your back. I put a magazine in. He takes a knee on the other side, and we start shooting. And I see Tig Marine, my boy, Tig. He's up on top of the building that's on fire. This epitomizes selfless service, sacrifice. Putting others before yourselves. He's up on the villa that's on fire because it's a better fighting position. He's worried more about us living than himself. Well, I looked at that and I'm like, man, I get chills even still thinking about that. Because that's not how we are in today's society. At least not as the mainstream media would have us believe we are. I think we are. Just too much TV that doesn't show that. Well, he's shooting, and we've hit the right guy. We hit an RPG gunner. He comes around the corner, rock propel grenade gunner. He comes around the corner. We hit him. He falls. His RPG tube falls, and the water faucet of snaps just turned off. I don't know why they stopped shooting at us. I don't know. Combat is very weird. Sometimes you'll hit the right guy, and the fighting will intensify. Sometimes that's the wrong guy. Backwards. Bottom line is you hit somebody, and sometimes the fighting will stop, and sometimes it will increase. And we just hit the right guy, I guess, or wrong guy, however you want to look at it. And I remember that's when our team leader and Ty come across the radio and say, guys, ISR is telling us there's guys massing, we gotta get back to the annex. ISR, drone, predator. That's the first time I realized we had a predator with us that night. It was around about midnight, a drone. And we get in our car and we head back to the annex. And we get back to the annex and we get up into our fighting positions because we're gonna get hit. We just know. I don't know why, you just can feel it. Like they're gonna come after us. And this is an obstacle that I will deal with for the rest of my life, is that we left somebody behind. We left the ambassador. Ambassador Kris Stevens was found at 1 o'clock in the morning, half on his bed, half off his bed. We left him there. He was dead, smoke inhalation. We couldn't get back far enough in that villa to find him. He was in his safe room. Now, I'm telling you, when I first ran into that villa, it was like running into a pizza oven filled with diesel fumes. That was hard. I remember coming into that front door where the fire was and going in to take my turn to run in. I went, and it's like you just hit a brick wall. And I take a step back, and you suck it up. You're like, okay, I can do this. Ranger school, I sucked it up. I was a private. I got hazed every day, tortured every day. I can do this. And you suck it up, and you go back in. We just could not find him. If you would have saw what actually the smoke looked like in that building, you would have saw a black screen on the movie screen. You wouldn't be. We couldn't see anything. Tig went in there the most. Tig and Ty and Jack. We almost lost Ty in there. The movie where you see we're having to play Marco Polo with Ty, that's accurate. We had to do that. Jack and Tig found him, pulled him out. Well, we left a fallen comrade to fall in the hands of the enemy. I broke the Ranger Creed. I'll deal with that forever. Hard choices. She don't know nothing about hard choices. Well, we get hit again at the annex. And I'm going to go through the 2 firefights because I really would like you to see the movie because the movie is very accurate on the firefights. The book actually is very accurate, but the movie visually with the night vision and the greenish hue and the lasers, infrared lasers going back and forth, it's intense when you're in a night vision firefight. I mean, it's incredible, and you're just zipping people up. You're just shooting bad guys. My problem was, and I remember this was an obstacle I dealt that night, is I hadn't had a chance to zero my infrared laser. So my first shot, I remember there's a bad guy coming over the last position. I shoot, and I see my round hit probably about 10 feet away from him off to his left. I'm like, crap, my laser's off. So I have to Kentucky windage over. You don't panic. You don't, oh, crap, I can't shoot. I can't see. I get on. No, you learn what you did from the past. Kentucky windage, and every shot I took from there on out was 10 feet off my target. Deal with it. Training, hard training, and not understanding that sometimes things aren't going to go right, especially when you're using equipment. Figure it out and adjust fire. That's what we did. The first firefight was awesome. Took them out. It didn't last more than 5 minutes. Zipping them up. It's like playing whack-a-mole. Just bam, he's down. That mole's down. I'll get back down, mole. Bam. And you're hearing these lasers go back and forth. That's teamwork right there. You're just watching those interlocking sectors of fire, and it's incredible. Between the first and the second firefight, I had a little bit of a moment of reflection where I went back home. And mine was, and I was married at the time, I'm not anymore. My poor ex-wives. I swear I don't know how they even found me anyway. But I remember thinking, did I tell my wife I loved her? Did I tell my kids I loved them? Yeah. Okay, good. Get them out of your head. You don't want to dwell in possibilities of the worst case scenario. I'm not going to go home. I'm not going to get out of this. I'm going to die here. Because chances are you will. Did I tell them I loved them? Yep. Okay, God has me here. I'm supposed to be here. This is where I need to be. And you get them out of your head. We got attacked again at 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning. This was a larger force. And not, again, watch the movie, read the book. But they keep rolling on us. And I don't know what they were thinking because they came from the same direction. It was like shooting prairie dogs at Nuclear, Colorado. It was just boom, boom. And people think, well, that's so insensitive, Tanto. No, it's not. They're terrorists. They're coming to try to attack us. They're trying to kill us. You're going to try to kill us, guess what? This bee's going to sting you back really hard. And that's what we did. Well, right around that time, you get word that Bub's team's coming in. Bub died that night as well, SEAL team. He was West Coast SEAL. I believe he was SEAL Team 3 as well. Bub's team came in with 3 other GRS operators and 1 Delta Force operator. I'm sorry, 2 Delta Force operator, 1 interpreter. They got actually to the airfield around midnight, Benghazi's airfield. It took them 5 hours to find a way to get to us. Also, Bub is a hero. You know why Bub's a hero? Because Bub's team and Bub chartered a plane to get to us. They chartered a Libyan aircraft to fly from Tripoli to us. No U.S. assets helped them get to us. They figured out a way. They never quit. They never gave up. They get to us at Benina. They got to go 10 miles. We have no support. We have no militias. They have to commandeer a militia or try to pay a militia to get them to us. And they do it, and it takes them 5 hours. They finally as they're finally getting to us at 5 in the morning, I didn't hear Bub come across already, and he says, he goes, guys, I can't find the front of your compound. You know, Google and Siri have no idea where you're at. And I could feel about that point in time, because it's been over 8 hours now that we've been in this. 4 different firefights. We don't know if anybody's coming. We got ourselves here, and you could just feel the morale start to drop. So I'm thinking, Tanto, I got to tell a joke. And I told a lot of jokes that night. It's all in the book. A lot of them are in the movie. And I'm thinking, okay, self-deprecating humor. I got to tell a joke that makes me look bad. What can I do? The movie was awesome. I can't believe Michael even put this in the movie, and Pablo Schreiber did it perfect. It's exactly what I did. I have my infrared laser on my rifle, and I go, Bub, get your night vision on, get your NVGs on, and look up. I'm going to lasso the target. Basically, you get up there and you lasso it like this. It's when you lasso fire from a Spectre gunship, you do the same thing. So I get up with my laser. I'm like this. And I hear Ty come across her and say, hey, they got it. They're seeing Tripoli officers seeing your laser. And I said, roger that. And I said, break. Guys, I don't know if this is an awkward time to tell you this, but I've had to take a crap since I left the consulate. And everybody laughs. And the only reason I thought of that joke is because I did for 5 hours. I had to take a crap. Oh, my goodness. Somebody's going to write me up for talking about poop tonight. It always happens. One person always will. I'm telling you what, too. Y'all think you're badass being in firefights for you veterans, and thank you for your services that you've been in. If you've been in a firefight before, though, don't get in an argument with me about who's tougher or not, because try doing 2 firefights with a turtle head poking out the whole time. If you can trump that, literally, go ahead. I like to hear it. That's also why you don't want to buy my shorts on eBay, even though I say that. But it works. It works. I hear Jack laughing on his building. He's over to the side of me. I hear Boone. Boone looks at me and just shakes his head because he knows Tanto, but he's laughing. It works. We get back in the fight. Everybody's head gets back in the fight, and we're going to need it. Bub gets on the base. He goes up to Building C with Ty, Oz, and Dave. He's the only one that comes up to supplemental positions. The 2 Delta Force guys and the 3 other Juris operators go into Building C along with their interpreter. And about, I would say 5 minutes after he got up to Building C, I hear a shh. Now, I can't hear anything. This eardrum had been shot out by my Libyan angel. This eardrum was shot out by Boone during the second firefight, and he thought it was funny. Because every time I tried to move down away from his weapon, he would move down with me, and he was laughing every time he would shoot with his sniper rifle. That's my best friend for you. Huh, Marine? With friends like that, who needs enemies, right? Well, I hear and I've heard mortars before. In Baghdad, we got mortared all the time. I got tired of running to the bomb shelter, so I just put earplugs in. I was like, oh, if I get hit, I get hit. I want to sleep a full 8 hours tonight. But I remember thinking, and I said it on the radio, I go, guys, you hear that? And then it just hit me. It's like, mortars. I went, mortars, take cover, and then boom. And we weren't any farther from where I'm at in this stage to the back of that bar. That's where I see Oz, and that's where I see Ty, and that's where I see Bub and Dave Ubin. And I see the first mortar blow up. And what it looks like when a mortar blows up under night vision, because we were in early nautical twilight, is your night vision just goes white. Because there's an overabundance of light, because your night vision uses ambient light, the minimum amount of light to get that greenish yellow hue. But when there's too much light, it just goes white, and then it comes back depending on how big of that explosion. And it goes white and it comes back, and I see Ty spin. He's got a belt-fed machine gun, and I see him hold that trigger down, and all you see is a laser as those bullets are continually going cyclic. That means continuously firing out of that rifle or out of that machine gun. And I see Oz shoot, and I see Bub shoot, and I see Dave shoot. And I put a few rounds over their head. And then I'm thinking tactics. We do mortar this way, somebody's going to attack us from the backside. So I turn around expecting to see just Custer's last stand as all these Libyans are overrunning our walls, and there's nobody there. So I come back around again, and I see another mortar hit. And I see a guy go down. He says, I'm hit. I didn't know who it was. It was Dave Ubin. Piece of shrapnel in his face. Brother, self-aid. We ain't got enough guys to do buddy aid. You got to take care of yourself. Get back in this fight. So we got to leave him to his own. Make sure he can take care of himself. And the 3 guys still up there, Ty, Oz, and Bub are still shooting. As I come around again to make sure I'm not getting attacked from my 6 o'clock, I come back and I see a boom, boom, boom. And my night vision goes white. And it's time for an extended period of time. I saw 3 81mm mortars hit my friends. And my night vision, as it comes back, all I see is pixie dust. Like Peter Pan. My mind looks at it and goes, your team just got evaporated and turned into dust. There's no more team. It's gone. That's the obstacle hard to overcome. And I did put my head down for a second. I did. I went, we can't beat this. We got air support. Even though I called for it at 9:37, midnight, and 3 o'clock. And then God, or Jiminy Cricket, whoever you want to believe in, I believe in God, kicks me in the back of the head, says, get your gun up. And I get my gun back up and I put a few more rounds over their building. Jack and Boone are still in the fight as well. When those mortars hit the team that escorted Bub in, the Libyan militia that escorted Bub's team in, they took off. Now I thought they were running away. They took off to go take out that mortar team because their captain got caught in our buildings when it got mortared. They saved us. That team that saved us, Gaddafi loyalists. The guys that we were bombing, the administration said were bad, the Gaddafi's guys, they saved us. I don't know what the heck we're doing in Libya. Okay, I do know what we're doing in Libya. I just can't talk to you because I signed a non-disclosure and I can't tell you. But the guys that President Obama and Hillary said were the bad guys, they're the ones that saved us that night, more than once. I see a guy get up on building C, and it's Tig, and I see a guy get up, and later I find out it's Oz, and every time he tries to get up, he's shooting and his arm falls, and his weapon falls. Well, Oz had his arm sheared almost off. So every time he tries to get his gun up, it falls. All Oz can think of, because when I talked to Oz about it, he says, man, all I can think of is I didn't want to let you guys down. So he's trying to get back in the fight, even though he has half an arm off. Tig sits him down, and Tig tries to get a tourniquet on him. And this is comedy in combat. This is Tig who started laughing. When we got to Germany, we were drinking some Jack Daniels, laughing about this because I was asking, "What did you see up there?" Because he saw mass carnage. I mean, he's seeing just bodies. Well, he says, "I sat Oz down, and Oz kept doing this. I could do 360s with it, so he thought it was cool." Well, Tig gets a tourniquet on Oz's arm, thinking that's going to end it, and Oz keeps doing it. Now think of a rubber band, if you continually spin it, it's going to pop. Well, that's what his arm is looking like. He's got tinted. And I said, and Tig and I are laughing, and I said, "Tig, how'd you get him to stop playing with it?" He said, "I told him if he kept playing with it, he'd go blind," and he stopped. Okay, that was my Run Ranger joke. That was my joke. All right. What he did, and this is what you all should do in a situation where people are getting overcome with emotion or can't focus. The two Delta Force guys got on the roof at that point in time, and they gave Oz a job because Oz is in shock. Now, Oz, again, is well-trained. They said, "Oz, we got more carnage on this roof. You got to get off the roof yourself." And Oz came back. He goes, "Can you?" And Tig says, "Can you do that?" And he goes, "Guess I'm going to have to." Oz climbed off that roof with one arm bleeding from 381 millimeter mortar hits and climbed his own butt down from the roof of the stairs. He almost fell on the ladder. He almost fell once because the ladder was covered with his blood, and he slipped and he caught himself. I remember hearing every step of the way. He's like, "Oh, he's just in pain." Never give up. You never quit. That's awesome. Well, Ty's in a fetal position, dead. Bub's face down, dead. Now, Tig did check him, he said. He said they were both dead. Look less than a field, dead. Dave's worse off. Dave's arm is almost sheared off, and his leg is almost sheared off. And they get tourniquets on Dave, and they have to put Dave on the back of one of the D-boys with a makeshift rucksack because Dave's 6'3", 240 pounds, and they climb him down. Hey, so much for my workout after. Tig is incredible. I see what people don't realize is, especially unless you've been in the service, those mortars were fire for effect. They were locked on. Tig got up there not caring. He got up there immediately to see if his buddies were okay. Self-service, sacrifice. Tig was the hero that night. Out of all of us, Tig did the best. Well, around 5 in the morning, I get word that there's 6 in the morning, I should say, I get word that there's a militia coming. And I get word from my chief and my team leader that I got to make sure they're okay. So I remember my team leader and my chief coming across the radio saying, "Tanto, we got a militia coming in. Make sure they're good guys. If they're not, you got to fight them off. Don't let them on." And I said, "Roger that, chief." I go, "What do they look like?" He goes, "Well, there's 30 to 50 trucks, including technicals. A technical is a truck with a 50 cal in the back, or a ZPU, or an anti-aircraft gun that can blow a hole through a brick wall or a concrete wall." And I said, "Roger that. Okay, what are their colors?" And they go, my chief and my team leader, "We don't know." "Okay. They have insignia." "I have no idea." "Are they wearing uniforms?" "We don't know that either." "Roger that." "All right, do you know if there's any way I can contact them, or can you guys know?" "We don't have any other contact with them at this point." I said, "Chief, remember I have an M4, right?" I didn't get anything back. Now, I'll be honest, I threw some expletives in there as well. Like, thanks for those pearls of wisdom, Chief. where I remember getting behind my parapet wall, and it's 3 foot high. And I get behind it, and I see this militia coming. When you watch the movie, watch how Pablo Schreiber acted. That is exactly how I felt. Now, I didn't take my helmet off. He did in the movie. It does add to the effect of, holy crap, how am I supposed to stop this? And I was in my head, I'm just, oh, this is it. I'm at least going to take somebody down with me. And I get behind my parapet wall, and I put my red dot on a passenger of the front vehicle. And my red dot is on his forehead, and I'm thinking, how do I signal these guys? Never quit, Tanto. You don't give up, ever. And I go like this. I learned the jumbo when I was in Mosul. It's amazing I got to work in all these great places I have timeshares in now. Mosul and Canada. Sanaa. Well, there's Sudanese. When you go overseas in the Middle East, again, you think there's discrimination here. I think there's diversity here. Diversity. The West Africans and the Africans themselves, in the Middle East, they do all the menial labor, all of it. Well, there was these Sudanese that we had protecting the outer ring of our base there in Mosul. And every time I drive by them, because I got to know them, they'd always go, ah, Tanto Jumbo, Tanto Jumbo. I'm like, is one of these guys trying to tell me to eat, I'm not going to swear, eat crab? So I stopped. And I asked him one day, I said, what's a Jumbo? He goes, it means hang loose, brother. It means shaka. It means... So I would do it around Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Yemen, and they got it. Because there's so much of influence of Kenyans and Sudanese and Ethiopians in these Middle Eastern countries. So if I did Jumbo to one of them and they did it back, 9 times out of 10, he was a good guy. And that's all I could think of. So I went, saw the passenger in the front vehicle who's chewing khat, which basically is Copenhagen mixed with steroids and cocaine, is what khat is. Huge old mouth of it. Turns your mouth all yellowish brown. Beautiful, beautiful looking. Looks like you're chewing on a Baby Ruth that's not a Baby Ruth. And he smiles and he goes like this. And I remember seeing that smile, and I remember thinking, man, and I've seen my two ex-wives, gorgeous, beautiful smiles. I've dated some beautiful women. I have never seen a more beautiful smile than that dang Libyan with that poopy cot-filled grin that's got brown stuff running down his chin and his teeth are all yellow. If you watch the movie, that's exactly what I did. It's like, right there with us. They're with us, guys. These are good guys. Now, there was really one big dramatization, way over dramatization in the movie. That's where I cried. I didn't cry. I never cried. That didn't happen. But I do remember feeling that sense of relief, and I remember Boone coming over to me and going, where were these guys at 9:30? Roger that. Gaddafi loyalists. They came and surrounded our compound and saved us. Gaddafi's guys. Well, I'm going to tell you one more thing about what happened on the base, and then we're going to get the airfield, then I'll be done. 5 more minutes. Well, we still had to get Ty and Glenn's bodies off the roof. We didn't lose anybody in Libya, right? Didn't lose anybody in Libya. Well, these people we didn't lose in Libya, I remember seeing Delta guys get up there and push one of those guys off the top of the roof. And then I remember seeing them push the other guy over the top of the roof. And I remember one hitting, and I remember the other one hitting a bush. And I remember when you hit one of those bushes over there, those aren't like little fern trees we have here. These things are like like spears. One of the guys we didn't lose in Libya, I said I'll be a little more graphic here, just split him right open. Hit. And don't think we weren't pissed. Our own people were desecrating our own guys, our teammates. The reason I'm telling you this, and I'm not mad at Delta, I'm not. Those guys are good guys. And they got caught in the politics of it by getting awards. They didn't want those awards. They didn't. I know they didn't. I know people. Surprisingly, the special operations community is very small. Those guys did the right thing by saying, we don't need these things. Their command said, you got to take these awards, or guess what? You ain't going to be in Delta anymore. The reason I'm telling you this, though, is because the reports from the State Department and the CIA still to this day, state that those bodies were lowered and handled with care. They weren't. We told the family members after we were able to talk to the family members when we all resigned. Well, we picked up their bodies, we put them on the back of a flatbed of a truck. I remember Tig said a prayer over Bub. I said a prayer over John. I remember his head was being completely flat from where he hit. And there is a smell of dead. There's a distinct smell. We covered him up, and we drove to Benina. As we get to Benina, the airplane that Bub's team had rented or chartered to get it to Benghazi was there. And luckily, it was. Bub's a hero. If that plane hadn't been there, Dave Ubben would have bled out. Because we couldn't, he had no leg and no arm. And there's tendons, they're just flapping. We got all the non-shooters and Dave and Oz on that plane, they flew home. We waited, 8:30 came, no plane. Shooters are still there with the bodies. 9:30 came, we see a C-130, a cargo plane land, and as it lands, I'm thinking, yay, Air Force, finally, Air Force is here. And I'm not making fun of the Air Force, they did try. That quick reaction force from Aviano, they were ready to go. And they were told, they were never given the word to go. But I remember looking on the back of that tail boom and seeing a Libyan flag. And I remember it being ultimate betrayal. Just 18 years of my life I gave this country, and they send a Libyan plane? And I looked down, I mean, still no Americans. And it landed, it taxied, it turns its engines off 400 meters from us to a half mile from us. And I look at my team leader saying, is that for us? He didn't know. He's like, shrugged his shoulders, and he got their interpreter. They drove down there. I see him talking, and I see the pilot get back on the plane, turn the plane back on, so I see the rotor start spinning again, and I see him motion to his crew to get the crew back on. Our team leader says, we got a ride, and we go and get on that plane. From all indications, even though the popular theory is that the State Department got the Libyan Air Force to come get us, from what I saw that night, what I saw the actions that were going on, that plane wasn't for us, it just showed up. God has a sense of humor, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. All those adages added up at that point in time. We went and got on that plane, and as we're flying home, one of those bodies that we didn't lose in Libya, rigor mortis had set in. Now, we didn't have body bags. We had them covered up with sheets. And one of those bodies had his arm sticking way out like this, like he had just got blown up. And his arm was out here, and it was sticking out of the sheet. And it's like the elephant in the room. I'm looking at it. Everybody's looking at it as we're flying back to Tripoli. It's Bub. And I go, well, if I got to do it, I got to do it. And I went over there, and I broke his arm, and I broke the tendons, and I put it underneath the sheet. When you say we didn't lose anybody in Libya, when you hear those things, and you've been through that, I can't explain the feelings of anger I get. Well, I didn't tell you this either because I skipped it, but the ambassador's body was brought to us. I must have been the body inspector that night. I inspected his body. It looked like he had died of smoke inhalation. I did not see any desecration on him. I know there's been pictures out there of him being desecrated. I can't confirm that because I didn't see it, and I looked at his body from a foot away, head to toe, because I wanted to make sure he wasn't desecrated. Being a Ranger, we know the history of Black Hawk Down. Well, we get back to Tripoli. I remember I take a shower, get something to eat. I didn't have any clothes, so I got somebody else's clothes, put some new clothes on. We flew to Germany. Just the contractors got on a plane, flew on a C-17, the first American plane I saw, to Germany. And I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. I turn the TV on. I see somebody talking about a protest and a video, which is Susan Rice. I turn the TV off. I wasn't mad. I wasn't disgusted. I was standard, typical. That's expected. I turn the TV off and I go back to bed. Well, that's it for Benghazi. All right. Now, again, I didn't get political. I didn't try. Maybe in the beginning I got my little jokes in. Benghazi's not political. Benghazi's the truth of what took place. We got left behind. We fought through it as a team. We overcame. We adapted. Like Kenny Sargent Highway, Clint Eastwood. I mean, really, that's what we did. Because that's what you do. You never give up. You never quit. We didn't. Now, after a year, I deployed again. Actually, I went to Yemen after Benghazi. And I'll tell you why. Because I saw the story being misconstrued and lied about and slandered left and protected. And I saw nobody sticking up for us in every one of this room. I ain't gonna lie to you. I hated you. I hated every one of you. I hated this whole country. 18 years of my life I gave, and I hated everybody because they crapped on us. So I went to Yemen to be with the guys that I trusted, my guys, the operators. As I came back, the team, during a memorial ceremony, was made to sign another non-disclosure, which is completely classless by the CIA. We went to Tyson's Corner, we went to the Ritz, and we got drunk. as the team, and we voted at that time, what are we going to do? Are we going to keep our jobs? We're going to tell the story. And if any one of us dissented and said no, we were going to keep our jobs, and we all voted, we're going to tell the story. And we figured the best way to do it was doing it with a book, because then it could be apolitical. Mitchell Zukoff from Boston, hey man, he's as liberal as they come. I love that guy though. I would take a bullet for him, because even though he may be liberal, he still wants the truth. The guy that wrote our movie, Chuck Hogan, same thing. But they wanted the truth out. So we thought, well, maybe if we do it this way, it'll be apolitical. Well, obviously, you see what their ramifications of Benghazi. Have you ever seen me on CBS, ABC, or NBC? No. Well, I remember after we did the book, and we came back, and after the book was out, and I went on that Brett Bear special, and we started to do book tours, and we started speaking, I realized that I'd become something I swore I'd never be, and that's a public figure. I didn't want that. I wanted privacy. I live in Nebraska, for God's sake. How private is that? And after a month, I came back and I hated my life. Like, what did I just do to myself? And I remember sitting in Dallas, and when I was sitting in Dallas, I was thinking, I want to go home and I'm going to put my Glock, I'm going to put it in my mouth. I'm going to pull a trigger. I'm done. Done with all this. And this lady walks up to me in Dallas, a little short lady. She goes, are you Tanto? And I was like, I didn't want to be bothered. Like, yeah, I'm Tanto. And I rolled my eyes. And then my military bearing caught in, and I said, yes, ma'am, I'm Kris, I'm Tanto. She goes, you're in Benghazi, right? I said, yes, ma'am. She said 3 things to me. She goes, I believe you. And she goes, tell your story. And my light switch of me wanting to kill myself and blow my brains out flipped off. And I said, well, maybe this is where God's path has put me. I quit for that little bit. I did quit. And God brought somebody in my life and said, no, don't quit. You need to keep doing this. And I've been doing this for the last 3 years, speaking, reliving this night in some form for the last 3 years. And every night is my last night. And then when we get out of here and I do book signing, you all are going to motivate me to do it again. So in closing, all I want to say is I owe you guys everything. I still owe this country everything. You guys keep me going. I'm not going to get like this again. Don't say thanks to me anymore. Thank you guys, because of you guys, I'm still on this earth and I'm still pushing through and driving on. So thank you for having me. And God bless y'all. Okay, well, here, we'll take the guy in the middle first because you're in the middle. But you got to speak up. Who's the one that tells us to stand down? Now, our stand down order came from our CIA chain of command. That was our chief of station in Tripoli on down to our chief of base, Bob. Now, I don't think his was nefarious. I believe his was because he did not know what to do. He was in a leadership position that had never been. And believe me, brother, you're not in those kind of situations every day. But there comes a time as a leader when you need to put your pride aside and you have to admit you don't know what you're doing. And he wasn't able to do that. He wasn't able to say, guys that I've been berating for the last year that I've been here, you guys no more in this situation, take over. So that was where our stand down came from. Okay, so the question was, who told us to stand down? Chief of base, our chief of base. That isn't the problem where the question comes in. That is who told the military to stand down. Well, really, there wasn't a military stand-down order. There was never a military stand-up order. State Department had control of that night. They had ultimate authority of who could send troops. The president also has to sign a document saying you can send jets or foreign military or our military into a foreign country. He failed to do that. He didn't do that. Ms. Clinton, Patrick Kennedy, and Charlene Lamb, all 3 of them had the ability to also do that and get troops moving. They're the ones that shut it down. They're the ones that, when we're getting mortared, we're deciding,
first of all, talking points. How are they going to figure this out? What are they going to tell the public? But also, what uniforms are we going to put these guys in because we don't want to offend the Libyan government? So there you go. Right? So that's where the play on words works. There was no stand-down order for the military because there was no stand-up order for the military. Okay, so if you want to find fault, State Department, also the president, has to sign a doc. That's a fact. That's just fact. He has to sign an order that military troops can move into a foreign country. He did not. Our stand-down came from the CIA. Everybody in the world, including the 7th floor there in Roslyn, Langley, and the Pentagon and the White House, knew it was a terrorist attack at 10 o'clock that night of our night. So that confusion that nobody knew what was going on, BS, because our radios go everywhere. Welcome.
Another question here.
Where you at?
Kris, what advice do you give a father whose son is considering joining the military?
Please do. It is still the most honorable occupation in the world. When you're overseas, politics make no difference to the guy next to you. You know, I know all of us special operations guys, if you listen to left-wing media, we're all racist, right? We're all racist. Boone, my best friend, he's black. I know we portrayed him as a white guy in the movie, he's not. The only reason we put Dave Denman as him in the movie is because the personality matches. We don't care about color overseas, or genders, or ethnicity. We don't care. Religion, when you're next to each other, you're brothers. You don't care about what's going on in D.C. All I would advise him is say, if you're going to go in, though, go in and go the best. Rangers, SEALs, Force Recon, because then you're fighting with guys that actually want to be there, and they're not there just because the rotation turns up. Those are your fighters. He will be in hot zones more, but he's going to be with guys that actually are better trained and have that fighting spirit as warrior ethos that they want to be there and will never let him down. That's the only thing I would recommend. Cool? Welcome. And after this, I got one up top. Yes, sir.
First, thank you for your remarks and thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
The question I have is, I have heard that over 2 weeks ahead of the problem,
Yes, sir.
a request was made of the appropriate people in the United States to provide assistance or support and so forth. If you're able to do it, could you confirm or deny and explain?
Actually, reports to supplement security at we still call it the consulate. The nomenclature has changed as this investigation has gone on. The reason it went from, when in the beginning it was the U.S. consulate was attacked, then it was a special mission facility, then it was a temporary mission facility. After the attack, why those names have changed is because the level of security doesn't need to be as high at a temporary mission facility than at a consulate. So that's why I continue to call it the consulate, is because to us it was the consulate. All right, so the consulate, the request for security from Tripoli and the RSO, Eric Nordstrom, and Greg Hicks, the deputy, 6 months prior. So it wasn't even 2 weeks prior. They had been requesting additional security, additional weapon systems, from what I know, and they could even be beyond that, for 6 months. The 2 weeks up, yes. The ambassador was protected by a special forces team up until Benghazi, and for some reason DOD and DOS, Department of State and Department of Defense, they pulled it. I knew that special forces team because I worked them when I was in Tripoli before Benghazi. All right, so, sir, I don't know why they pulled. I don't know why they pulled it, but I do know the request had been going up for additional security in Benghazi for at least 6 months by the appropriate individuals to Hillary Clinton, Charlene Lamb, and Patrick Kennedy. Those two names there have been lost. They need to be picked back up. Those two people, Patrick Kennedy and Charlene Lamb, are just as responsible as Hillary Clinton is for that debacle there. Okay, so I wish I could tell you why. I don't know why they wanted the ambassador to die or why they wanted to leave us behind. Yes, sir.
We're going to have one last question, but
I know.
before we go, yeah, we're going to bring the question up top, but I do want to let everyone know that the sponsor of this event that made this happen, and he's here tonight, I just wanted to give a special thank you to Peter Lamage, who helped
Where's he at?
Peter was a sponsor of this event, and I just wanted to make sure I thanked him. And I don't know if we can get a mic from up there, but someone did have a question Oh, Heather.
Where, Heather? Who?
Can you hear me?
You can't hear you. Holy crap, Heather.
I had a really simple question. Have you had this conversation with Donald Trump? Please say yes.
You don't know, but his people know that I support him. Why I didn't endorse him is because I didn't want Benghazi to become a Donald. As soon as you put it's not the Republicans that need to know the story. It's those, exactly, and by me not, as soon as you say Benghazi is related to Donald Trump, then you turn off the middle of the road and the left leaning. By me doing it what I did, and I told him, I'm his mercenary, let's put it that way. Right, but that being said, the story is the truth and it needs to be told about it. It's an inspirational story, and by doing what I did, I speak for corporations now. I spoke at PNC Bank. I'm going to speak for the Cox Communications Convention. I spoke at 2 large insurance companies. So I'm getting it out to people. Maybe I won't get it. Maybe I'll never speak at a Democratic National Convention even though I was there. But I'm getting to groups that need to hear it through a business side. Whenever I align myself with Donald Trump as far as publicly aligning myself, you really do. You shut it down, and that's nothing against him. It's just how we are with politics nowadays. But yeah, I'm a conservative. I'm a registered conservative. Republicans support the military more than Democrats. That's all I need to know to vote for a Republican. That's all I need. Thank you, folks, again. Thank you so much.
We're going to be outside. We have some books left over if anyone's interested in getting a signed copy. I really appreciate everyone coming tonight. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed, and drive safe.
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I do business as Light Source Productions. I provide professional services in the area of strategic video communications. First, what we do is we help you craft your message using what I call the rule of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. We do event documentation, content acquisition, full-scale productions, editing, and of course distribution through our social media television network. And with social media, video is more important now than it has ever been. Whether you're talking big business, small business, nonprofit, church, or just an individual. Let's say you plan you're planning an event, a wedding, whatever the case may be. But let's say a big event, but no video. And you spent all this time, all these hours to put this event on, and maybe 100, 200 people attend the event. But more important than that is that thousands could attend by watching it on social media. But of course, you don't think about this until after the event is over. You can't afford not to capture it for social media. And despite what people think, I am affordable. Give me a call. Let's plan your next video project and share it with the world on my social media television network. I promise you that you will have the attention of one person, me.